Welcome to Good Enough Painting, where all we care about is the model just looking good enough. The goal here is to have a model that if an experienced Warhammer player saw it on the table, would go, hey, that looks nice. Or if they looked at it closely, they might say, oh, that's good enough, yeah. And if someone who hasn't painted before saw it, they might even go, wow, that looks great. I'd be like, damn right. Every paint I use in this video is going to be a Games Workshop Citadel paint, but honestly, it doesn't really matter which brand you use because we only use basic colors here. You're also going to notice I filmed this on my friend's back porch, and because it was a nice day, so you're going to see my friend's feet a lot in this video. So, now, let's get this Chaos Warrior his badge of good enough. Alright, so to start off, you're going to want to build the model. That's right. No painting on the sprue here, we're lazy. Pro painters are afraid of not getting the places you can't see, but I say, meh? I don't really care if someone's back is gray just because they have a cape on, and who cares if the inside of someone's shield is just one color? Anyway, after you've built the model, you're going to want to base it in some flat color like white or black. And as you can see, I already did that. You can do this by spray painting it, or just painting it with a big brush. I did this using Abaddon Black because we want that grim dark feel. And the black makes the parts you miss seem like you meant to. Now that he's nice and in the void, we are going to add some dark metal paint, which in this case will be Iron Warrior. Also, as a side note, we don't water down our paints here, we just kind of raw dog it because it's faster. With his armor on, we're now going to add some corn red to his cape and the bandages scattered all around. I forgot to add the bandage red, but I add it later on, so don't worry about it. And if I were just getting my army ready as a whole for the tabletop, I'd honestly end it here, because I kind of just get them all like pumped out there, and then I slowly do this one by one. But anyway. He needs that badge, so now we're gonna add some storm vermin fur for his wolf's cloak, or just, yeah, a fur cloak. You can really use any fur color for this, but I think this gray adds to the feel we're going for. Now we're going to add our first bit of popping color, as I call it, Screaming Skull. The horns and all the skulls are looking pretty good, and it really does add a lot. Now, a small but needed step, we're going to add a more light metal color to the model to contrast the armor while still basically being the same color. For this, we're going to add some lead belcher to all the chains and maybe the sword if you want. I personally kept the sword the same color as the armor because I kind of like that it's like the same kind of metal, but it doesn't really matter. Now that we only have a few colors left, I'm going to state something. It's okay to mess up, like a lot. So don't worry if your colors are overlapping at this point, because we're going to fix it later in the third to last step. Anyway, now let's add some brown to all the straps and any wooden parts on the model, like the little twig thing and the banner. Oh, also, yeah, paint the rock gray, but yeah. You can also paint his boots brown and maybe his gloves, since most Chaos Warriors have gloves. But I personally like to keep them black, just to keep at least some black on the model, to kind of keep it that dark color. To keep it overall that dark color. I've also noticed the model typically looks too busy when the boots and gloves are also a kind of popping color, like a brown. Step that really makes it look like a true Chaos Warrior. We're going to add Balthazar Gold to all of the trim parts around the model, and any little icons that may be on it. Real quickly, add some black to any cloths, the eye holes, and the boots if you so choose. And lastly, for the normal paints, we are going to add just a bit of white for the icon on his back, and fix up the model, and just fix up the model in general. So go back in with your tiny brush and repaint any part of the model that you might have messed up on. Once you've looked over the entire model a few times and made sure you haven't missed any glaringly obvious mess-ups, we get to add what the cool kids call liquid skill. Shade paint is easy to use, and it's what makes any meh model look good enough. Just get a decently sized brush, dip in that shade, and go at it. Make sure to add shade paint to basically every part of the model, but don't go too thick, because if you put too much on, then it makes your model look all like shiny. Not like a nice shiny, but because the shade paint is kind of like a brown, and so it's just like a weird, like dirty shiny. Like maybe you could say it's like rain, but that's hard to say. And it can kind of look all right if you're going for like a gross look, or I actually do like to go a little thick if it's like a demon's like skin or something, because it kind of gives it like a leathery look. But once your shade paint dries, we move on to the final step, basing. Since the Chaos Warriors are from the north, I thought it would be fitting and very simple just to simply add a snow texture to the base. And that's pretty much it. You don't have to get Citadel paints, but in my experience, and from all the different like snow textures that I've tried, Citadel makes the best, most accurate snow. But Citadel is expensive, so you could also go down the Army Painter or Vallejo routes. Either way, I recommend getting a texture tool, because putting on this stuff with a brush is the absolute worst. And Games Workshop, Citadel, sells one for an actually decent price. I think it was around, it wasn't even like $10 for a really good basing tool. And so I'd recommend that. Anyway, now that this guy has gotten his good enough seal, let's take a look at him. Look at him go. Before I let you go, I want you to remember two things. To have a decent looking Warhammer army, or just, tabletop army in general, you don't need to have an expertly painted army, because lots of people, they get so worried that their army doesn't look as expertly made as other people, so they end up not really painting anything at all. And it's because of that most people don't even have like a painted army. They might have like a painted model and an army of gray or an army of black or without heads or whatever, because they're trying to paint them each one by one off the sprue. But so this is kind of just a guide for those kind of people that just want a painted army that is just good enough. And if you think that you can't paint, just remember my little tagline: anything is possible with patience and tiny brushes.